Episode 36. What's up, everybody? Welcome back. I'm super excited about today's guest because I feel like we both have one, a passion for fish, like all of my guests do, but two, we have a passion for food. If you're not following FJ on socials and you are a foodie, and if you like fish, you got to follow him. We'll get into his handle and everything just a second. But if you want to be on a future episode, shoot me an email right here. If you're just listening, the email is sttf.weareeverywhere@gmail.com. And now, without further ado, FJ, taste of your creation himself. What's up, man?
Hello. Good morning.
Good morning. Kind of in the intro there, the first thing that drew me to your page, whenever I created this podcast, I'm going through, following all the fish hashtags and like finding people. I was like, I came across your page and I was like, oh my God, this is my dude right here. Because when some people go to shows, and I've talked about this before, some people go to shows, they are in line for like front row. They want to get in front row. That's their thing. Some people want to get in line and get posters. That's their thing. Some people want to find, like cool creative t-shirts. That's their thing. Dude, my thing has always been, I got to make sure I have enough money to try as much food on lot as I can. Dude, I'm all about the food when I go to fish shows. So your page like drew me in, man. I was like, this is my guy.
That's funny. Yeah, like definitely there's something about eating strangers' foods in a parking lot.
There really is.
Yeah,
man.
like I kind of give a little bit of backstory about this, and so I've always been an eater. Like, let's be serious, and everyone is, right? At one point, tailgates, whatever it is, and me and my group of friends that I would go to fish with, like, 2010, 2011, whatever it was. We would film ourselves in like a digital camera, like talking about what we ate, like as a joke. Like over there, they got Gordo tacos, like, and it was like a thing. It was actually, we called it Maddie T Eats on Lot, like our friend Maddie T. And then I just like kept doing it over the years and would post to my individual Facebook page. And then my one friend, we were at Dick's, and he was like, "Yo, you need to like make that an Instagram and like do that, like have fun with this." So where it evolved a little bit is my wife. Melissa, so FJ and Salissa, right?
Uh-huh.
That's like we do it together, and it's funny because I do a lot of the videos on camera. Melissa is the brains of the operation. What did we say? So she cooks all the food that we eat. So it kind of morphed into what you eat on lot to what you go around on tour. Like, oh, this is where we ate breakfast. This is where we went to dinner like the night before visiting. To I have season tickets to the Giants, and we have like a
Nice
food in a bag bit, like. Whatever you can
Okay.
put in a plastic bag, you're allowed to bring into stadiums and arenas.
Oh, okay. See, I didn't know that.
Yeah, like gallon Ziploc clear bag. You put a sandwich in it. Like 95% of venues across America, you're allowed to bring that in.
I did not know that.
So like, that's a piece of it. And then we've done like the TikTok or Instagram style videos where like, here's how to cook something. So like my wife does a lot of the cooking, decides what we're going to make and things like that. Because during the pandemic, it was the first dinner in a movie, and she's like, "Oh, I'll make the recipe, whatever." And then like we had a couple friends around, like in our local area, like we live in Long Beach, New York, and we'd be like, "Oh, let's hang out outside. I'll make this." We dropped off for some people one week, and then like after like week 5 or 6, it was like, "Oh, we're not gonna make the recipe tonight." And their friends like, "No, like you have to." So then we ended up making every single recipe that night on Tuesday or whatever it was for a dinner movie, and then that kind of just snowballed into what it is, right?
So before the dinner and the movie, was your wife like? Is she like a chef by trade, or is she just like to cook and is like a good?
She's
cook?
just a great cook.
Cool.
That's it. You talk about that, you get a lot of this is like straight words from her mouth, like, "Oh, can you send me the recipe for that?" Like, it's not recipes, it's methods.
Okay, gotcha.
Right. So and like she'll say like, "Oh, like how did you make?" She's like, "I don't know the steps. Like, it's just how you do this."
Right.
And like
It's more of an
people
art
understand.
form.
Yeah, it's like people understand that, like, how you fry an egg, how you cook like things like, oh yeah, that makes sense. It's not necessarily a recipe; it's a method of doing something.
Method.
But obviously, it gets more complicated when you make certain sauces or things like that. Like, oh, you have to know what an immersion blend. And we made a short rib lasagna sometime in November. I can always forget what it was called. Like what she used to make like the sauce in it. And it was like, oh yeah, it's within what I cooked it in, and I always forget the word, but it's like that stuff. Like
yeah.
That's what she's good at, and then I eat it and talk about it, right?
And that's what you're good at. Dude, that's awesome. And speaking of the dinner and the movie, I didn't make every single one. But my girlfriend and I, like, we were kind of doing the same thing. I was like telling her, I was like, yo, they're doing this like cool thing, you know, it's like free and they're sharing recipes. But one of the recipes that we did make was the eggplant parm, and that sauce, it's just like a red sauce, like a marinara, like a spaghetti sauce, whatever. We had never made a sauce like that before, you know, like we just like, if we're having spaghetti or whatever, like we just buy pizza sauce or spaghetti sauce. And so we made that and like followed all of the steps, followed the methods, and did it like to the T. And dude, whenever we ate that, I was like, okay, the eggplant's great. Like this is a great meal. I was like, but this sauce, I was like, go to phish.com. I was like, screenshot that right now, because I don't know how long it's going to be up there. And dude, we make that still to like this day.
And
like,
use it on everything, not everything. Just like whatever it is.
Yeah, anything that needs red sauce, dude, we're making that, and it's so good.
So that's a good question. That's like something I ask a few other people when we talk about dinner and the movie and stuff. Like, what recipes have you repeated since? Right?
That one.
Like, there were some things that were fairly difficult, and there were some things that were like, oh, like this, I could do this again, or I really like this. I think we've done like, there was like a Thai curry one time that Melissa's made a few times since. You know, making a red sauce is standard.
Yeah.
That definitely happens often. I'm trying to think what other ones. Like, there was some stuff we'll never make again. I remember like it was the Dick's one where it was some type of pizza with like a walnut sauce on it.
Yeah.
Like, and it was just bad. Like,
oh, was it?
Yeah, and not, I guess bad's like, that's relevant, right? Food's all relevant, like what you like and what your taste palette is. Like,
sure.
No. Like, I remember when we were eating that, I was like, no. Like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to eat this. And you just know. And most of the times you watch a video, want to eat something, like, I'm always positive about it.
Sure, yeah.
Very rare that like I'll eat something and be like, oh, like I didn't like that.
Who fucking made this?
Yeah. Sometimes you could tell like I'm lying through my teeth and like, whatever. Like, I want to be positive. That's it. But then there's sometimes like I think I ate a donut grilled cheese on lot once, and I bite it and I'm like, this is a terrible idea. Like, and hey, some people like that savory donut flavored glaze, and sure, it's not for me. Like,
no, dude, no. And some people, like, I'm sure you've seen this a lot. Like, some people, it's like they do or make food creations just to do it. It's not like there's no like method behind it of like, oh, this is super salty, this is sweet, like this could go together. It's just like, hey, yeah, let's throw cheese on a donut. Like,
oh, exactly. Well, there's a whole thing on like social media of like, I guess like the vulgar chef is someone we follow.
Okay.
He just like does stuff that's supposed to be gross.
Okay.
Like,
that's the bit.
Yeah, like that's the bit. Like, you know, fried ketchup popsicles. Like, he does a lot of ketchup stuff. Like, you know, and honestly, sometimes he makes some stuff that's like, oh, that's genius and great. We created one of his things one time, which was a deep fried ramen. So basically, you cook ramen and then batter it and deep fry. Like,
how was that?
A cup of noodles. It was great. Like,
really?
Yeah, and it's about this. Like, to me, it's about the sauce you then put on it. But it's like some things he does is genius, but his bit is, I'm going to make something that is going to gross people the fuck out, but it's edible. And
we'll see how it
is. It's like a 5-year-old palate. It's like ketchup and hot dog sauce.
Dude, you just said something that triggered something. Well, first you said ketchup, and then you said 5-year-old palate. So I'm 32 years old, and I eat ketchup, but I don't eat ketchup like on everything, right? But one thing that I do put ketchup on, and I'm curious to hear your take on this, because I respect your food opinions from what I've seen. Ketchup on scrambled eggs, yes or no?
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, I guess. You don't have to be nice.
Yeah, no, like that's something that makes sense. It's just like, you could tell a lot about a person when you open their refrigerator and what the condiments are on the shelf.
Yes.
Like, I want everyone watching this to go to your friend's house or go to a house party, whatever it is. open the refrigerator and just look at the condiments. Like, it's like, hey, like you got to have the staples. Like everyone's got Frank's Red Hot, Sriracha, stuff like that. Like, what's the brand of barbecue sauce? What other hot sauces are there? Like, is it just ketchup and yellow mustard? Like, get the fuck out. Like, don't eat dinner there. And there's things you'll like never hear of. Like we use this one thing pretty often. Melissa found it one time called Fly by Jing. It's like spicy Szechuan sauce. And they have like crunchies inside of it. It's like awesome. So you look at a person
in the sauce.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You look. It's not really a sauce, but it is. Like I don't know. Okay. And then we also have one drawer of just like homemade sauces and condiments.
Oh,
like,
nice.
Know how to make an aioli, which is just like fancy mayonnaise, right?
Yeah.
that type of stuff. But you see that we definitely do that. Open people's kitchen refrigerator doors and go like, oh, they only have this, or oh, this is good. Like
Yeah. Like, you guys want to stay for dinner? And you're like, nah, we're okay.
Nah, we're good. Yeah.
And one last thing on food before we get into Phish. When it comes to mayonnaise, keep taking it back to condiments. Duke's or Hellman's?
So in the Northeast here, like, and just like we're like, in Long Island and New York, it's easier to find Hellman's and Duke's. Okay. And that, so I think a lot of that argument is about what's available. Sure. I think Duke's is better. And, like definitely. And
perfect transition.
Yeah. That's the idea. And again, I say, if you go into our refrigerator and look at there is definitely a few jars of different homemade mayonnaises. And then, I think there's definitely Duke's in the refrigerator today. And because I think like a Lidl opened up recently nearby. Lidl is like a European grocery store that's like in the Northeast. Okay. So we're used to grocery stores in America, very faced shelves, like very clean, like, oh, this is what they have. Lidl's like, they opened up the top of the box and it's there. It's a little cheaper. It's like, all of it. It's a different type of thing. You might not find everything when you go to they have Duke's. So.
Nice. You got to do a little digging to find it, but it's there.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's get into some Phish, man. So right off the rip, when did you discover Phish? How old were you? When did you find them? And
sure. So like, I guess you say like discover, knew they existed, and then like, everyone says the term got it, right? So I'm 38.
Okay.
So definitely when I was in high school, I recall having, I think Billy Breathes, like a CD, and I had cassettes that my cousin maybe gave me, like, different shows here and there, probably a live one. Kind of at that formative time when then you had Napster. And I definitely had Gin and Juice downloaded.
We all got
and Fluffhead. I remember specifically like, oh, you had my songs on my family computer. I definitely had Fluffhead. I definitely had Gin and Juice, which was not a Phish song, but it's just funny that's like what it was at that time. So like I knew who they were, and like I remember now, like I went to see Korn at Nassau Coliseum like a few weeks after Phish played Nassau Coliseum. So as I was younger, at one point, it's like, oh, I would have never gone to Island Tour. Like I was too young, like whatever.
Right.
No, I went to, my parents dropped me off at Korn like a month later. Like if I knew better, like I could have been there. Like,
Yeah.
So then in college, like Phish was on hiatus.
Mm-hmm.
It was just like my first year, I think my freshman year, like they broke up, and like my friends listened, and they things I had people I still go on tour with and talk to almost every day. Like, they were seeing like, oh, like, and I just never worked out to go.
Right.
And so they didn't exist. And like this time frame, I probably would have been going a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So when they came back in 2009, it would be my first show at Jones Beach, which is close to where I live and where I grew up. That 3 nights, Tuesday, and they played Thursday, Friday. So it was like something was going on Wednesday they didn't play. So it was like a show and then a day off and then 2 shows. And that was the start of the summer tour, the beginning of 3.0s when I first saw them. And just, doing that, going to the Garden, eventually, it all clicked. It was definitely something I listened to. It was just like not something that I thought I would see because they didn't exist when I was 19 and 20 and 21. And then things change. And that's cool.
Yeah. Dude, similar story with me. Like got into them in high school and was like, had the initial thought of like, whenever I'm digging into them, like, oh man, like when can I see these guys? It's like, you can't.
Yeah, and that was it. And there was a few like when they did exist and I could have gone, like he was like, oh, you went on a family vacation, like other things are happening, and I just didn't didn't see them. Like, and
Yeah.
I also didn't try as hard. I probably could have, but it just
Yeah.
wasn't my bag at the time. And like, I liked other jam bands. And I was just like, yeah, it just didn't work out to go. And then when it was really readily available, I was like, oh yeah, I'm in. Like, of course.
Let's go. Yeah. So going into your first show, you weren't going in cold. You had, knew of the band, you knew that they jammed and stuff. On the first show, is it like boom, light bulb, or does it take a few, or had that already clicked before you even went to your first show?
I definitely knew I would like be into it. I wouldn't say it was like as into it as I became. Like, did I know that? I think a part of it was like, that's what all my friends did. So it was regardless of how good Phish was, the time and the people I went with, like, they were the people I was hanging out with every day anyway. Like, we don't have, like, yes, we have non-Phish friends, but
right.
It's like, that's what it is. Like, it's people that you go to their weddings and you see like their kids being born, and their neighbors, their friends. Like, in our town, it's like Long Beach, New York is a really like unique place. Like, we're 50 minutes outside of New York City. It's a beach town. Yeah, it's cold in the winter. There's a lot of like old deadheads and Phish fans here. So we have a lot of friends that are like really close, like within a few blocks, and we all ride bikes that are all Phish friends as we do streams and stuff together. And then there's a bunch of people that like, there's the New York State Phish license plate. The dude lives in Long Beach, and I don't know who this person is. So like,
but he has it.
And he exists. So like, we call these Phish fans in our city, and we call the others that we don't know, because we feel like it's such a tight community. But also, like, I don't know who these people are.
Right. That's awesome though. Like, and that's cool that you live in a spot where even if they're not your friends, that are in like your Phish group, like, you're still surrounded by other people that know Phish and like Phish, because like, it seemed, well, most of the places that I've lived, like whenever I lived in Oklahoma, I had my Phish group of friends, but outside of that, it was like no one had ever heard of the band. That's what it seemed like, right?
Yeah.
Then when I lived in Oregon, that was a little bit different. I'd see like Game Hinge stickers and stuff like that, occasional Phish sticker. I'd be like, oh, cool. Like, there's something about like just knowing that there's other Phish fans around you existing that like kind of makes you feel like, oh, okay, like there are people here that like, I don't have to go to a show, like they exist in my community.
Yeah, and it's got to be like a geographic thing, right? Like
100%.
And like the Northeast makes sense. We're very close proximity to New York City. People grew up in this town, but also a lot of people like to move to this town that have a certain type of vibe. So that makes sense. But even when I lived in Manhattan for a while, you could walk down the street and you see a guy with a Phish shirt on or whatever it is. And then there's always like and every talk to anyone from work or whatever, it's like, oh yeah, like that. Yes, like that they do a bunch of shows at the Garden, right? Like, people understand that they exist.
Right. It's one of the. Do you have like on your car? Do you have like a Phish sticker or dead stickers or anything?
I do have a Frames license plate. Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
I find myself, because I have like the classic Phish sticker on the back of my car, and I don't know, something. Maybe this is just me, but maybe this is everyone that has like a license plate or a sticker. Like, every time I get in my car, I'm like, oh, is somebody going to pull up next to me today and be like, hey, like, am I going to meet someone on the road? And dude, it's never happened to this day.
It definitely happens. You get beeped out every once in a while. And sometimes they go, is this a road rage thing? And then there's dude out the window giving you the, like, the go.
That's all I want. That's all I want, is someone to just roll up and be like, hey, I like Phish too.
Yeah, like within our group of friends, we actually take pictures of people's like stickers on their cars, like, I'm driving down Long Beach Road coming home from work. Like, do we know this person? It's like a save game henge or whatever.
Yeah.
And like, a lot of times you don't. Like,
yeah, you're like, I don't know who it is.
I don't know who that is. Sometimes you pull up, it's like, oh, hey, like, because you might see them around at the brewery here. You might know, like, they might be a friend of a friend. It might be someone you know, and it's like, oh, I don't know that you drive a Subaru. Shocked.
Got the Subs.
Yeah, of course you drive a Subaru.
Oh my god. Okay, so back to your story. First show, Jones Beach, 09. How did you hit any other shows in 09, or was it just like the hometown show basically? Or
well, they played 3. I was really a hometown hero for the first few years. So they played 3 in Jones Beach, and then there was a Madison Square Garden run that year, early December.
Okay.
And I can't remember, it was 3 or 4 shows. So it was like December 2nd to 5th or something like that. And I went to those. Okay. So that would be the first year.
Okay. So hit it hard in 09.
Yeah. I mean, like
shows.
It's not hard to hit it. It's not difficult to hit it hard when you live within an hour of the Garden.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, like by default, there's 4. Like,
yeah.
By default, there's 4.
I'm it.
Yeah. All right. Sure. And then, and at that time, I was living in the city, so it was like every time they came around to the Garden, like that's what you're doing. Like,
yeah,
that's what it is.
And
it was just that first year in 09 that it was that like not New Year's Eve December run.
Right.
Yeah. So I think it was like the first week of December. I don't remember the dates escape me. And then it would be the next couple of years, like grow a little more, like, you know, go to Hartford, go to PNC, you know.
Sort of spreading out a bit
within that northeast vibe. That first few years of 3.0 between like 09 and 2013, they were always doing two or three shows at Jones Beach. There was like a 4th of July run time. I don't remember what year like Bader Field happened. That was like Atlantic City.
I want to say
like maybe 2015, maybe earlier.
So I don't know.
Yeah, so like that. That was the distance. Like maybe go to Philadelphia, not really travel, not get on a plane for it. Hey, if it's within 5 hours and we could drive, you have a friend living somewhere, like do it. And they were playing like this Randall Island show. Like they were playing a lot, and as they still do within here.
Right, within your radius.
Yeah, so I remember like the Randall's Island show. I lived on the Upper East Side, and we could walk across the bridge from the Upper East Side to Randall's Island. Like that was like one of the easiest.
Yeah, dude. And that's so cool. I'm always so like envious of people that live like in the Northeast. And it's like every time, you know, tour announcements come out, they're like, oh yeah, we can hit this one. This one's 5 hours away. This one's 30 minutes away. This one's another 4 hours away. I'm just like, oh man, I wish I lived
it's obviously easy because, like, you know, and say what you want to say, it's a Northeast band, and then when you see Phish on the West Coast, there's a bunch of people from the Northeast traveling to the West Coast.
Yeah, and it's so funny, dude. Like, because like once you get to a certain age, I mean, you can basically live wherever you want, right? You're an adult. If you want to live in New York, you can live in New York. If you want to live in California, you can live in California. You can go wherever you want. And it's so funny because I've been obsessed with Phish for years. And I've always chose to live in spots where they don't come a lot. Like I live smack dab in the middle of the country, then moved to the West Coast, and then now I'm in Michigan. Which I mean, they come to Michigan. But
did you go to the Pine Knob show?
Yeah, we got rained out. You were there, dude. You were there. Yeah. I saw your I saw it on TikTok or Instagram. I was like, oh, dude, there he is, and I was like. We were all stuck in our cars, but I was like, oh, am I going to see him? You know,
that was, I guess that was my 100th Phish show.
That was your 100th? That's what I was going to ask you. So how many have you seen to date?
Whatever I've done since that one.
It's hard to count after a while.
Yeah. I didn't do anything in the fall. So I guess I go, how many, 104? Whatever.
Okay.
103. Gotcha. Because I didn't go to one garden show this year. Yeah.
Gotcha. Well, was Pine Knob your 100th or was it your 99 and a half?
Oh, right.
No, it was your 100th.
Yeah, no. I mean, like, I guess they didn't scan my ticket, so they didn't count.
Dude, that was wild, dude. At one point, they were.
That's one of the hardest I've ever been rained on. Like it was like, oh yeah, it's gonna stop, and then like I think we the next morning we read like a Jam Base or whatever article. It's like, oh, and the rain subsides. Like, no, it didn't.
No,
like,
not at all, dude. And I remember being so bummed because I live about 45 minutes to an hour north of Pine Knob, and the whole drive was just like. People were going like 20 miles an hour. And I was like, dude, this is going to get canceled. This is going to get canceled. But still just kept trucking through. And then about like an hour before, or maybe a little bit before, 2 hours before, it kind of like eased up. It was still raining, but it wasn't just like dumping. And I was like, okay. And then it started up again. I was like, fuck.
It was every time we were in our car and it was like, and we'd be like, all right, let's go out for a second. And it would start again. We're like, oh man, this is bad. We did a pretty aggressive summer last year. I think it was like 7 or 9 shows, whatever it was, and that was the last of all the things that we were doing. So, and it was like the road. We stayed at our aunt's lake house in Ohio for like a few days, and then did Blossom, and then drove to Pine Knob. We're like, all right, this is the furthest we've driven together, like doing this, and like, all right. And then it was just everything else was great weather. Like it was great weather throughout Bethel, Hartford. Like it was hot, but like no, not rain. Blossom was gorgeous, and it was just like this is the worst. And like, it ended up being one of the weird fond memories. Two things I'll point about like at that show in the rain. We're walking in, and we like kind of get on the lawn, and there's like a woman and a guy, and they have like a baby, like less than 6 months old, getting poured on, screaming with our play. We're like, oh, like that's not a good thing. Come on, like make a better decision. And like that bothered us, but that was like a moment in time. The whole show, there's a guy like rolling around screaming like next to us, but it's like that guy's loving life. Like it's like fine, like
the things you see at Phish, man.
Exactly. The things you see, like that's like burned images of my head and like remembering those two things.
Dude, the baby thing is like, I get it. Like you've seen babies at shows before and stuff. Yeah. And they got the big ass like earmuffs on and everything. Yeah. But out in the rain and stuff, like, I mean, even though it was summer, like it was chilly. Like I remember
it was pouring all day, and like I understand like, oh, this might. And I get it. Like we have the ability to travel a little bit for Phish, and this might not be the only show we go to this year.
Right.
But hey, like there's a point where in the parking lot that it's like, oh, it's 9:00 and the show, we're not going into the venue yet. Like go home.
Yeah. Dude, I was going to stay. Until I got like official word, but I'm glad
I just have a newborn with me. Like
you stay in the car. We'll be right back.
Yeah. Like, make a decision.
Yeah. Okay. So after 100 some odd Phish shows, whenever you're just going to turn on Phish on a Sunday afternoon, normal day, you're going to throw Phish on. Do you have a favorite year of Phish that you like to listen to that you keep finding yourself going back to?
I think it's like certain runs that we might have went to that go back to. We've also done, I think everyone changes how they listen to Phish, right? Like
100%.
Right. And so like there's times where it's like, oh, let's listen to Winter Tour 95. Like, oh, let's pick this and start at the beginning and kind of over the next few weeks do another show like that.
Oh, so you stay in the vibe for multiple, like you finish a run out.
Yeah, like do a run out. So I'll do that sometimes when I'm in my car, like driving for work or whatever it is. I had a friend that like kind of turned on, hey, do this every once in a while. All right, not bad. I usually listen to what's recent that we've been to. That's just like a common thing. Like,
gotcha.
And I guess probably some of the go-to like shows or whatever I'll listen to is I do like to listen to that first Jones Beach run.
The one that your first show?
Yeah. That ends up happening. Which year of the Garden? I think like the 2016 Garden run. There's a specific show where they do like an Undermine that has like that calls back to Stash like a few times.
Okay.
The Mexico 2020 run comes up a lot when we're like, oh, let's do this. And then even if we don't go to a show, people are talking about this. Like listen to it, talk about your friend, talk about it with your friends, or what would you listen to?
Yeah.
Like that makes sense. Call them like little bombs. Like, oh, may not listen to a full show, but listen to this part of a show. Like Mexico 2020, the first night, it's like a free rescue squad, shipwreck rescue squad free. Like that batch, things like that.
Cool. And so I'm curious, I don't think I've asked this to any guest before, but like whenever you do listen to Phish, are you like a purist? It's like you're like, okay, I'm going to listen to this show, or I'm going to listen to, or something pops in your head. You're like, oh, I'm going to listen to this disease. I'm going to listen to the Denver Ghost. Let's use that for example.
Yeah.
Are you going from start to finish, or are you jumping to like 9 minutes ahead? Are you skipping to the jam, or do you listen to the full thing?
Yeah, I'm not skipping. I'm not
skipping.
I'm not skipping stuff. I think that's just more like I'm not taking my phone and then go like, oh, this is the moment I want to hear. I might know like, oh, this is the part of the song I want to hear, but it's just start from the beginning. Yeah, like I'm not like, oh, I just want to hear this segue. It might be a certain part of a show where, oh, I don't want to hear the first 3 songs of this set, but I want to hear the last 3 songs of this set. So I might do that.
Gotcha.
Like within an individual song buffer.
Gotcha.
Scroll.
I do that, man. Sometimes. Like if I'm like, yo, taking it back to the Denver Ghost, I know that at like 9.5, 10 minutes in, I know that that's my goosebump spot.
The
like,
part.
You know, like, and so like I'll like be in the car and I'll like put it on and then I'll be like trying to keep my eye on the road. I'll be like, nah, okay, we're good. And then I'll just like get it on because I just like want to get to it. I don't know if that's like me being like part of like, you know, like the millennial, like I want everything now. I want it right now. Just get me straight to the part.
I'll definitely be in situations like, oh, I know that I like, you know, I listen to a lot of stuff which like shuffle and whatever I have on my Spotify or whatever.
Right.
It is. And I might know like, oh, this song is good, but I'm only gonna be in the car for another 7 minutes and 20 minutes long. So I might end up sitting in my car or just like skip it because I don't want to be like, oh, I don't get to that part. I might skip the song completely.
Right.
Yeah, you definitely know those parts of certain songs, with certain jams. One thing that, and you know, say what you want about any song, right? It doesn't matter what the song is, what overall opinion is, what you like it to be, right?
Exactly.
A jam I go back listening to. There's like ones I've been to is what I think of.
Okay.
Like I like Bliss jams. You know.
Yep.
Dark and Evil is great. I like Bliss. Like,
yeah.
It's what it is.
The yin yang. Yeah.
Yeah. It's what it is. Was this probably 2018 Dick's on the Saturday night? There's a Set Your Soul Free. And at about 12 minutes, it's like a high pitched organ type sound, like very melodic and stuff like that. Like I like that. And I know it's like 12 to 15 minutes. And like when people ask sometimes like, oh, listen to that. And then, yeah, you say what you want about that song. Like that piece of that jam is beautiful.
Dude. And that's a great point, you know, and we haven't gotten into this with you yet, but songs, like song choice, right? You know, we're in a new era of Phish, figuratively and literally, to where a lot of the songwriting, not so much jams, but songwriting is a lot of like Puppy Dog, Flowers, Love, Light, this and that, right? And you get the people, like myself included, that are like, oh, I want dark, I want evil, like I want a 97 dark ass like Carini, right? But to your point, it doesn't matter what the song is because they can play Ruby Waves. We've seen it multiple times.
Yeah.
And you get your socks knocked off. So like, yeah. So for me, not so much it being the song, where are you taking it? I don't care what the vehicle is, so to speak. Like, what are you doing with it?
Yeah.
And a lot of those newer Love and Light songs like deliver and have been delivering, you know. So the Set Your Soul Free from 2018 Dick's, I'm going to put that on my listen to list because I'm not familiar with it.
Yeah, right off like 12 to 15 minutes is where because if you like to skip that thing, you'll know the sound.
I'll skip. I'm a skipper.
Yeah, that's cool. That's the part.
So would you say that's your favorite jam?
I think of like ones I've been to. Yeah,
okay.
That's it. You know, there's a few great tweezers that I've seen that like I'll go back and listen to every once in a while. I like the 4.0 sound, we call it, that like frog noise.
That's a good way. I've never heard anyone call it the frog noise.
You know what I'm talking about.
I know exactly what you're talking about. That's a good way to put it.
Like anytime that comes to any song now, I'm like, oh, the noise, like yes, and then
there it is,
like noise, like that's what it is. I love that. There's a ghost bathtub from Nashville a couple years ago that we were at.
Uh-huh.
And that's like the first time I heard that sound. And we're like, oh yeah, that's the sound.
That's the sound.
That's it. Like it's like that like grungy type of thing. I know there's a few Ruby Waves with that.
Yes.
Like, obviously there's like the 40-minute Ruby Waves thing. There's that was it like Seattle or Oregon or something last fall that there's like a good Ruby Waves.
So I don't know about.
There's like a really grungy, heavy part towards the end of it, like that. I like that stuff.
Okay, I'll have to revisit.
Yeah, it's just off the top of my head, can't remember. I remember like being like talking to like one friend who's like, "Oh, you have to listen to this," and then I was like, "Oh," and like, my buddy texted me, he's like, "Everyone's talking about it. Is it really that good?" I was like, "Yeah, it's pretty good. Like you should listen to it."
Dude, okay.
It could be any song, right? It could be.
It doesn't matter. Yeah,
it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. I'm still waiting for the day, like, because there are like songs that I do like, and they're usually like I'm a sucker for like sad songs or like emotional songs. Like I love like Brian and Robert.
Yeah.
I love Shade, and I'm just like waiting for the day where I can have like best of both worlds and just get like a 27-minute Brian and Robert.
That is something that you don't think you would say. Yeah. We call Shade 4.0 waste. And like that
dude, 100%.
And that's our wedding song. Like so that's like fun.
Dude.
And that's gonna be like the wedding song with people that are a little younger in the Phish crew, like because that's what it is. Like,
dude, it's so good.
It's a great song. It
really is. And that's one of those songs. I've said this before. Like a good song is a good song. Like, it could be Phish singing it. It could be Harry Styles singing it. Like that's just like a good song.
That's music. And I think the other thing about like these newer songs and what it is, like a lot of people are like, I want them to play that from them. It's like, look at how much fun Trey is having playing this new song. Like it doesn't matter what you think. Like he really likes it.
Dude, and I think that's something that as Phish fans, we've all at least struggled with at one point, right?
Yeah.
And usually like early into your like Phish fandom is like you go into the show like with your expectations. Like you're going into your first show and all you've been listening to is Island Tour, and you're just like, oh yeah, like I'm going to see my first Phish show. And you have that like expectation in your head of like, I'm going to see Island Tour. And it's like, nope, you're not.
Don't try to think what you're going to see. Like, hey, make guesses, whatever it is. Don't be disappointed.
Yeah.
You might get the song you're chasing for. You might get a song that's a bunch of cat noises.
Or Fishman drum loops. Just hear
the cat noises always gets me because like I kind of like the song, but it's like, oh, what does Phish sound like? Oh, it's like sometimes it's funky, sometimes it's sad, sometimes it's cat noises. Yeah. But that's also a funky song.
It is. It's super funky.
It's super funky.
You just said something. You might get the song that you're chasing. Out of your 100 some odd shows, do you have a song that you're chasing that you haven't gotten yet, or do you have a song that you did get? What are you chasing?
So I like everyone has songs they haven't seen. Sure. No matter how many shows you've been to, right? A song that I would like to see that I haven't seen that I can think of in my head is Strange Design. And nice. I think a big reason I didn't see it is because they didn't play it at the Baker's Dozen.
There you go. Did you do every night of the Baker's Dozen?
I went to 12.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, dude. You did 12 of Baker's Dozen?
It was my father's 60th birthday party on Saturday. Yeah.
Okay.
And the plan was to never go to all of them and just kept being like, all right, we're going.
So which one did you miss the Saturday? Is that
the middle Saturday? Yeah.
Gotcha.
And then you of course, like there's been songs like, oh, I want to hear this song because I've been listening to back old shows. I might have seen it before, but you not realize you liked it at the time because you've just seen a lot of Phish shows. That it happens.
Yeah.
I really like to answer this question though with more of you don't know what you're chasing.
You don't know what you're chasing.
So because it might be a song that you didn't realize was in the catalog, and a lot of people, there's a lot of people that have listened to a lot of Phish and studied through the songs. A lot of people that haven't. So you might go to a show and they might play X, and then you might be like, oh man, like what is this? And then be like, oh, you don't know this, like because you didn't know because you really enjoyed it at the time. There might be something that you know about, but you didn't realize you liked it as much because you might have a certain feeling about it, whatever it is. And then one time they play it, like, oh, I'm glad I saw that. And there also might be songs that you know exist, but you never thought it's possible that they're going to play it at a show that you're at.
Like so Hiatus or
exactly. I don't think I'll ever see Round Ring. Insert song there, right? Like, and that not necessarily the song again. I don't think they're ever. I don't really care. Like, but then one time they might play it. The example I go with that is a few years ago they played Access Me at a Dick show. And like, I remember like, making playlists for like my now wife. Like, we've been seeing Phish together for a few years. Like, and like you try to give someone certain songs to like, oh, this is what you might like. Like, I didn't give her Access Me. Like, she'll never see this song.
Right.
Like, she's gonna like it. I don't want her to be like, this is something I want to see. Like,
right. Just set it up thinking you're gonna see.
And then they played it. I was like, oh, yes. So this can happen, and that's what it means chasing a song.
Yeah, 100%. And I love that perspective because it's always like, call it egocentrical, like we ask that question, like what song are you chasing? You're thinking about me, my experience, but the experience as a whole. Dude, Access Me. And then this has reminded me so it was the recent anniversary of the 2/28/03 show. I saw people posting about it, and that was the show that they did the bust out of
the bust out of all bust outs, right?
Yeah, the bust out of all bust outs. And I didn't realize that Destiny Unbound basically was never like the last time they played it was like 91 and then busted out in 03. And I didn't realize that. I didn't know that it was that big of a bust out. So when that set in for me, like whenever I see it, like turned on the show, and whenever they go into Destiny, like you can hear like you always get some crowd noise like in the recording, but like you can hear it's like overwhelming. People were like, "Holy shit!" Because I think it was like
it's also a recognizable like first couple notes song,
right?
I think that helps that. So that's a show that a lot of my friends could have went to. I was in college. I played lacrosse in college, and we got like smoked in a game like the day before or something like that. So we had an indoor practice that night last night.
Oh man, you could have been there.
Yeah, and like I would have been like, and like I didn't know how much I would have liked it would have been like. It was
right.
Yeah, it's funny the way it is.
Yeah, the way it is. You can't dwell on it too much. The bust out of all bust outs. On the flip side, what's a song that, because we all know Phish cover songs. Even Billy Joel had his little comment about Phish being a cover band. But for the most part, we all like the covers. So what's a song that you would like to see Phish cover?
Warren Zevon, Nighttime at the Switching Yard.
Oh, okay. Warren Zevon. Whenever I think of Warren Zevon, all I think of is Werewolves of London.
Of course.
So I'm gonna write this down because whenever I ask this question, I like to, especially if it's a song that I'm not familiar with, I like to go listen to it and see like if I can hear Phish doing it. So Warren Zevon, what is it?
Nighttime at the Switching Yard.
Nighttime at the Switching Yard.
I would say listen to more Warren Zevon.
Okay.
In general.
It's one of those dudes like I'm aware of, and like, but I just never dove in. He's got some solid stuff.
Oh yeah, man. And you'll know more than you think you know.
Okay.
It's one of those too, like used in a lot of movies or like, and then when you start realizing what his voice is, and then like it comes up on a TV show, you're like, oh, you immediately know this is a Warren Zevon.
Yeah. He's got a unique voice.
Yeah, you'll know.
Nighttime at the Switching Yard.
That song's a banger.
Dude, and also I love asking this question because in hopes, we know that members of the band have their finger on the pulse of what, is going on on the interwebs.
Maybe it gets to them.
Yeah, maybe it gets to them. So like, I love asking that question because selfishly, I want to take partial credit for being like, yo, they did it.
Once it's in the ether and it's like, oh, like Trey could hear that and go like, that is a good idea.
Let's do it. Yeah.
Wow.
And then he just giggles.
Yeah.
I love that. I'll have to check it out. I wish I was familiar with it so I could like hear it in my head. But yeah, I'll check it out. Warren Zevon, Nighttime at the Switching Yard. Okay. So out of all the shows you've seen, we're both 3.0 kids. Because I don't know, I didn't mention this earlier, but I saw my first show in 09 as well, but it was the New Year's run in Miami. So that was like my first trip in. So knowing that we're seeing Phish during the same amount of time, what are some of those like standout memories? Like the rain at Pine Knob. What are just some of those favorite memories from tour that like stand out to you to where you're like, damn, that was cool? Could be in the show, could be in the parking lot on the way there.
Try to think about like things that have happened and stories that you like say along the way. Like, I think I know it was Gorge 2018. And we always talk about this, like how to give a person directions at a Phish show or a festival in general. Yeah. So if you've been to the Gorge is a big circle. Like the and in the middle is like this flag store, like, you know, it looks like the Hunger Games, the Wild West there. And our friend calls, he's like, all right, go to the flags, look towards Canada, walk towards Canada, past the circus, and then make a right at the flowers. And we're like, we're not gonna find this guy. You look to where he said the direction. There's like 20 Canadian flags on top of RVs. Well,
okay, there's that.
Let's go that way. And then like there's a band playing, and like it's you know, it's a circus. Like you knew that this was something was going on in this area of the campground. Like, yep, this is what he's talking about. And then we're like, oh, this is not it at all. We're gonna find a bouquet of flowers, and then someone looked at their feet, and there was a little bouquet of flowers on the ground.
No shit.
And they were like 10 tents in. Like, I was like, all right, how does that work? So that's always a go-to.
Dude, that sounds like It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia bit. Like the gang's on the phone with Charlie and he's giving directions.
Yeah. What? I like that in general. Like, how do you find your friends' places? Yeah. It is a lot about the people you hang out and see along the way and the conversations you have. So those that's a good one. We rented a house in Denver one year, and we get in this house and there's like horse flies, like big flies everywhere. Like, you know, and then we went on like a killing spree of these slow, and like, I don't know, I always remember that. Like that's one that sticks out. Like,
why are there so many fucking flies?
And you know, because we all, like, you know, in the Northeast, you have a lot of friends. You do this, like, who's gonna get a ride to who, things like that. Last year we were at Bethel, and we were with our one friend. He did the entire tour at that point till Bethel. And then he was planning on hitching a ride from Bethel home he lives in our town. There was like a few people. And we were at a diner eating breakfast. And he was texting 3 separate drivers, all going back saying, he's like, oh, like, can I get a ride with you back home? I don't want to go. This person wants to go to Hartford. I don't want to go. I'm done now. Like, I need a day off. And the 3 separate drivers were all like on groups at the diner. We're just discussing. I was like, oh, we're going to go to Hartford tomorrow and not go home. So like he's like, all right, I guess I'm going. Like that type of stuff.
You're in.
You're in.
Dude,
yeah,
those are always fun.
I'm sure there's like so much more. Like I don't know. Do you ever like camp at Dick's?
Oh yeah, dude. So
do you remember like the tricycle races down Little Hill? Like
roll down the hill.
Yeah, but then like people have like little tricycles and do like stuff like that. Like you just like, why is this a thing?
Dude, Dick's is one of those places, and it's like being there like from the start, right? Because that was basically the closest we ever got to a hometown show for a long time, like being in Oklahoma. Yeah. And so we drive up, it's like a 12-hour drive. Our whole crew drive up, and then just watching it like evolve, you know, and like all these like weird things, like the roll down the hill, or like the, you know, people, the grassy knoll, like it's just turned into like this like thing, man. And it's taking it back to the circus thing. It's just kind of like
someone always brings that giant beach ball, and then after the show is kicking it around the soccer field, like the one that's like 12 feet in diameter. Like, always,
man. Dude, were you at Dick's this past year?
Not this year, no.
Dude,
this is the first time. We didn't make it out to Denver. The other part I think about like traveling Phish, I've been to a lot of the same places. Like,
same.
You know, besides, you know, because it's what easy. A couple years ago, we really made a conscious effort to like, all right, we can only do so much now. Like, let's go to a place you haven't been, and that's what brought us to, like, Nashville a couple of years ago. That's what brought us to Pine Knob and things like that. Like, hey, like I know what it's like here. Like, of course I'm gonna go to the Garden. Of course, go to the Jones Beach, but I might not make the trip down to Camden, because maybe instead of doing Camden for the weekend, I'll do Alpharetta or whatever exists. That's a different little trip. And then, you know, of course, I know a lot of people go to show, and I know a lot of people like, hey, I'm going to travel for Phish. Mm-hmm. I do think it's important when you travel for Phish, you travel for anything, like do something else with it. So,
exactly.
You like go to whatever city it is and spend 2 days in the front and the back end doing something else in that city besides seeing Phish and doing that. Like,
exactly.
You know, make it make sense for you. Do something in between. Like, you know, we went to a lake house in Ohio for a few days, and then went to Blossom. Like, would have never done that. Like, you know, Phish wasn't there, but also, you know, it just makes sense. So I definitely implore people to do that. Explore the food around places, and besides just seeing Phish. think Funk Your Face has that meme. It's like, oh, you saw the country on tour. Then he always puts like McDonald's, Walmart. Like these are the things I see. Like don't be that.
Yeah, each city, no matter how big or small, has something to offer.
Yeah.
Like what pops in my head is like what you just mentioned. Like, what kind of cool food spots can I go to here?
Yeah,
like,
I think that's an easy one. There's always a park. There's always like a museum somewhere, like something else. It also might be another band to see. Like,
good point.
Yeah, it might be a different type of music. It might be a different venue. Like, if you're in Denver, like go to Garden of the Gods, go to Mount Etna, go to Mount Everest, go to Red Rocks to see a different type of show there. If you go to Nashville, go to the Musical Hall of Fame, like go to the Ryman Theater, like do something separate. And I do think that there's a lot of Phish fans that do that as well.
Yep.
So because then what you end up seeing is, it's 2 days after, then you're at some museum like 2 hours away from where you saw Phish, and there's some dude in the Phish just like, oh, you were at the shows? Yeah, us too. Like almost.
Yeah. And that's another cool part, is like even just being like downtown and walking around. Like you see people in their Phish gear and stuff, whether it's before or after the show, and having that like,
yeah, I see. I know what you did.
Yeah, I see you. How you feeling, buddy? What is one Phish song that you would be okay with never hearing again?
Life Beyond a Dream.
I got it. I don't need to ask why.
He's saying it because I know how happy it makes Trey feel, and like the meaning behind it, all that stuff. Like, true to my word, and like I like don't really leave for any. It's like go to the bathroom when you need to go to the bathroom. Like, sure. Like none of that matters.
Yeah.
With our crew, Section 118 crew at the Garden, we like to try to sit together. This year is like, what's going? Like, they're gonna play Life Beyond a Dream. I'm gonna leave right away. It's like I ain't missing my train for Life Beyond a Dream. I'll tell you that. Like, and then of course one day that they're gonna play it for encore, I'm gonna leave, and then they're gonna play something else right after it.
Yep.
It's gonna
be the next bust out of the century.
Yeah, my word, I'm out of there. First note, I'm gone, and that's the only song I do that for.
Dude, Life Beyond a Dream. Yeah, and like sometimes when I ask this question, people will give me something like off the wall to where it's like, because you have like the songs like where you expect like Time Turns Elastic, Life Beyond a Dream, like what those types of songs. But sometimes like people like they'll hit me with like a Julius or a Character Zero or whatever, and I'm like, I'll have to like explain that to me, like what is it about the song? But with Life Beyond a Dream, I get it.
I think there's other songs like when Yem starts, go pee and come back to the jam.
You'll make it. I'm not
really quick. Dude, nobody's at the bathroom.
Dude, I have never thought about that, but that's a really good point. If you're talking about like efficiency at a Phish show,
yes. As soon as a song that I know out pee, come back, you'll be pumped.
You're coming back right at the boy man got shit.
Yeah,
and you just took a shit. So there you go.
Super fast. I got a friend that's like notorious for that. He's like all songs people like would never go to the bathroom. I go as soon as it starts, I'm back faster than you can imagine.
Dude, that's actually smart.
Yeah.
And I've never thought of it like that.
You'll do it. You'll pull it off quick.
My man, dude. That's a great fucking point. Especially if like it's a fluff head or or something that has like a song.
A song like a composed song.
Yeah.
Right? Like you know how it's gonna go, which is great. Like you've probably heard it before, no problem. You're still gonna hear it as you go to the bathroom. It's okay. Yeah. Nothing weird's gonna happen. And if it is, it is.
I got 9 minutes.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah, I know how fast I can get back.
Dude, you just blew my mind on some super simple shit, and I love it. What are you hitting this year, man? Obviously the garden shows.
Yeah, we'll do a few of those. If anyone has tickets, I need a ticket. That'll happen. Not worried.
So did you do anything for the lottery or?
Yeah, we put in for the lottery. We just put in two tickets for not all the nights. I did like a few of the nights because it's all about what you can incur and expense now and like
right, yeah,
figure that out. And we're gonna go to Burgettstown.
dude. I'm gonna be there too.
Oh, let's meet up. Yeah.
I think that's the only one that we're gonna wind up hitting this year. Dick's is gonna be like a game day decision. Me and a group of my buddies like always do Dick's, but that one's gonna be a game day decision. But that's gonna be the one, Burgettstown, because it's like a 5-hour drive from where I'm at.
That's super doable.
Yeah. Dude,
that's the one we're planning on. Things can change, and
things can change, man.
That's it. I think there's a lot of very accessible shows this summer.
Yep.
Just about how much you want to do Phish.
Yep. How much do you want it, man? How much do you want it, dude? But at Burgettstown, we gotta meet up and we gotta eat some food together.
We'll eat something.
We gotta do a collab.
Yeah,
dude. I'm so stoked because I'm the only one of my group. Well, no, I take that back. There's one other guy, my buddy Gunner. Like, that's what we're like, the food thing. Like, what are we getting? What are we getting, dude? And this last year,
sometimes it's what you find in lot. Sometimes it's like a restaurant nearby. Sometimes it's what the food in the venue is. Because
I always stay away from the food in the venue. It might just be a price thing.
Price is definitely a factor.
Yeah.
I think what's changed, like if it was like 10 years ago, like everyone's got chicken fingers and French fries, like all venue food is insane. But what I think you've seen, like NFL stadiums, MLB stadiums, like they've started to adjust that. And I think that has a lot to do with like food truck culture. That now it's like food truck stuff inside of venues. Like you'll see, like, yes, you can say, oh, standard venue food, but there's some places with some like great food inside of venues.
Okay.
Like the Garden is a good example of like, has good venue food. Places like that.
Chicken sandwich.
Especially arenas that like are, hockey teams, basketball teams, things like that.
Sure.
Like Phish needs to play UBS, which is where the Islanders play.
Okay.
Top-notch food venue in America.
Really?
Yeah.
What's your go-to?
The mini wontons.
Mini wontons at a stadium. Wow, you weren't kidding, man.
Yeah. There's some good stuff places.
Okay. I mean, maybe I'll take out an extra credit card so I can afford some stadium food. Dude, the price point, like even with beers, it's like you go to a stadium now and like get a beer and it's like $16.
Yeah.
Like, holy shit, dude.
Lot prices aren't much better.
Inflation's killing us all.
Like last summer, and that was part of what because we did a lot of shows last summer, and you have people that like, oh, I'm just spending at this venue, so you might try to find them. Like it's that guy who's like, oh, I made a bunch of this, and I'm selling off the pay for my show, great. But then obviously you have like businesses, that go from show to show, and like you'll see like, oh, like you've seen these people at every show, they're charging $17 for a burrito, which. Don't hate it all. Like, you gotta do what you gotta do. It's fine. But then that was part of like, we start trying like, oh, that guy's been at every show. He's got a $5 taco. It's the best deal online.
It's my guy.
Yeah.
For a while.
You find that out.
For a while, my guys were the, it was either fucking Philly cheesesteak or funky Philly cheesesteak. But like every show that I was at and they were there, like, I was like, you're my dude. Cause you got like, a fucking fat Philly cheesesteak for like $5. Yeah, and dude, it was like so good. It would get you full. The bread to meat ratio was great.
I'm a fan of if you come across his name's RJ and falafel and a pickle guy.
Falafel and a pickle.
Does a falafel wrap and the pickle.
Okay.
and he's also a fun person to watch.
Okay.
He's entertaining when he makes it.
Okay. Falafel and a pickle. Interesting. Okay, dude. Thank you for taking the time on a Sunday to come on and share your story. I'm glad I got to meet you. I'm looking forward to meeting up with you in Burgettstown. We can munch down and see some Phish. And yeah, man, excited to see you on tour.
Awesome, man. Appreciate it and enjoy.
Absolutely. All right. Hang out.